Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Couch GMs podcast. It is Thursday, October 9th, 2025. I'm your host, George Kurt, joined by the one and only Cody Roadcap. How you doing, Cody?
I'm very tired, but I'm doing great. We have NFL football to talk about, and the Packers are off bye. So it's going to be a great weekend.
You got through your boring weekend, and now you have the rest of the season to look forward to.
13 straight weeks of Packers football and hopefully more.
And hopefully more. Make sure you're following us at the Couch GMs, Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok to get even more than you do from the show. As always, make sure you feel free to DM us with any fantasy questions you got, or you can put them in the comments if you join us live Mondays and Thursdays at 6:30 on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We got plenty to talk about building off of last week, Cody. So what's happening? I mentioned on Monday that we pretty much had to go through the entire list of injuries that we had dealt with last week on this show. So hope you're ready to do that. But first off, we had a trade, and I'm actually kind of sad about it because I think the idea that we had was better. And I was literally minutes away from posting a clip of that from our last show on TikTok before the trade went down that the Browns did not, in fact, trade for Jameis Winston. They traded for Joe Flacco in a very rare in-division trade.
Joe Shiesty 2.0? Is that what we're getting in Cincinnati?
Is he elite?
No, I don't even know. We don't need to go down the rabbit hole if was Joe Flacco ever elite. Let's not even start that conversation. But yes, Joe Flacco is a Cincinnati Bengal. He got there on Wednesday, and he is going to start on Sunday, which is kind of crazy. Just goes to show what their thoughts were on Jake Browning. And I really do think, like, this one has been tough for me because, on the Monday show, I threw out there Jameis Winston, and in my head, it made so much sense. And then Joe Flacco, like, he didn't look great with the Browns. The Browns weren't a very good team. And I think about it, and I'm like, man, the Bengals, they have a worse offensive line. Like, how is he going? And the only thing I can think of is he's just the veteran that knows how to get the ball out quickly, where like maybe like a Jameis would sit back and try to throw down. I don't know. I don't know what the reasoning behind this was other than getting a veteran that people knew and they saw a lot of. But yeah, this doesn't move the needle too much for me in any direction. It didn't move the needle for Las Vegas as the Packers opened as 14.5 favorites, and after the trade, they were 14.5 point favorites. So take the points, but Joe Burrow to the Bengals, or not Joe Burrow, Joe Flacco. The Bengals want Joe Burrow back.
Yes.
I don't think that's going to save the season.
No, I don't think it's going to save the season either, just because they already needed a win or two out of Browning as far as they got. Because like you and I talked back when it happened, how, their schedule is a gauntlet. And Flacco doesn't move the needle enough. Who I think could have moved the needle enough if he needed to go into desperation mode would have probably been Kirk Cousins. But the price tag would have been a lot higher. And I actually was talking with a Bengals fan at work this week, and he was like, I feel like if we traded for Kirk, it was saying Burrow is not going to be back this year. Like, we're going to try to make this full run with Kirk and then figure out how to, unload that later. So, going to that second tier option, whether it would have been Flacco or if it was Winston, made the most sense. But I agree with you. I don't think it moves the needle enough.
I just feel like, could you have, I don't know, and maybe this is just me and not, respecting Joe Flacco like some people do. And I don't not respect him, so don't take that the wrong way. But when I just look around the league and I even see guys like Tyrod Taylor sitting in New York. Yes, I know he's already played because Justin Fields got banged up a little bit, but I feel like he would have been he's a little bit more mobile. Could you, even like a Sam Howell, right? Like he hasn't had the best record, but he's a little bit younger. Like the Joe Flacco one just doesn't make a ton of sense for me other than he's a veteran and he beat the Packers 2 weeks ago with the Cleveland Browns, which really was their special teams beating them. But, if he did it once 2 weeks ago, maybe he could do it for them this week. And with the Bengals front office, I wouldn't be surprised if that played a role into it. Like, oh, he already beat the Packers once. He can do it again, right? Let's go get that guy.
I could have seen it. And it's crazy that he's playing a team 2 times in 4 weeks, not on the same team. That does not happen often at all.
What's his Madden rating? Maybe that's played a factor into it.
There you go. Oh, that's the Giants.
Not, but I'm going to have to look this up. Madden rating for Joe Flacco.
I'm so excited to hear.
71 overall.
Well, he's probably better than Jake Browning, so that at least is helpful.
Jameis Winston, 70 overall.
Oh,
Now
there
you know.
there's the answer. We found it. Why don't we
Jake
go to a fan
Browning,
question?
68. They went up 3 people so far. So yes, let's stop talking about Joe Flacco.
Okay, cool. Broly on Twitch, thank you for joining us. Start 2, flex 1, Javonte Williams, Kyron Williams, James Cook, Saquon Barkley, 8-man standard.
All right, so Kyron is a lock for me.
Same.
Especially with Blake Corum potentially dealing with some injury thing.
He was right back to like near the top of snap percentage share last week.
Yep. I think it was like 90+%. So Kyron is definitely a lock. Then, I mean, the easy answer is Kyron, Cook, Barkley. But Javonte has played really well to start the season. And the Cowboys have a plus matchup against the Carolina Panthers. Barkley has the Giants. So
But he's also banged up.
That is true. He was a little bit banged up.
I don't think it's going to affect, like, there seem to be absolutely no issues. He only missed 1 day of practice and was simulated. Like, I'm not saying anyone out there should overreact and go sit Barkley, but when you're in a situation like this where you have 4 top-end running backs at this point, at least how they've been performing, that might be the one place where you consider sitting him.
Yeah, I'm not doing it. For me, it's really between James Cook and Javonte Williams. And I think on paper, the Falcons, seem like a easy matchup. I do think they are doing pretty good in terms of fantasy, though, against running backs. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I'm pretty sure I saw that earlier this week. But I still think you got to go with your big 3 and not overthink it.
Yeah. I think I'm also sticking with the big 3. I'm also between Javonte and Cook, and I would not blame you if you decided to play Javonte instead of Cook. What is that Cowboys matchup again really fast? Panthers. That's just juicy. So, like, I think it comes down to a gut feeling on this one, and I hate to, like, not give you a straight answer, but when you're in a situation with 4 guys who are definitely startable, that's kind of where you're at. Do you think the Bills are going out to a big lead? If you think the Bills are going out to a big lead, I think you're playing Cook because there's a good chance, 1, he's a part of that, and 2, he's going to get a couple extra carries. If that's going to be a close game, I think we've seen situations where in close games, Cook disappears.
Yeah, it just feels like getting too cute by not playing those 3. I mean, you're in an 8-man league. That's why you got those 3 big names. And they're playing so well. But hopefully that helped. If you want my final answer, it is Kyron, Cook, and Barkley. Good luck.
I'll agree with you, Kyron, Cook, and Barkley. And I just hope there's not a wrong answer there. And there probably won't be, which is good.
I don't know what's next.
We're on injury reports next. And I just want to start with a note on tonight's game, especially for those out there who are listening, trying to get a final set of their lineups. Tyrone Tracy is back tonight. Something that kind of slid under the radar under all the Cam Scattaboo buzz. But it's a little bit extra in the backfield for the Giants and probably back to a split.
Yeah, I mean, I think the split will still favor like Scattaboo in the red zone, and they'll probably ease him up there. But Tracy will probably get some passing game work, and as long as he doesn't fumble the ball, I don't think he's going to be like Mondre Stevenson and like can fumble and just keep getting snaps. I think that's a bugaboo about him. But I am and it's a tough matchup, so I'm worried about that, not just for Tyrone Tracy, but eating into Cam Scattaboo's potential fantasy output this week as well.
But I don't want to sit on this one too much. We'll get back to this game a little bit later in the show. And if you have any questions regarding that, we'd feel free to drop them in the comments. Moving to quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson still has not participated in practice. He is expected to be out this week again. And we have seen a real bad look out of that Ravens offense over the last few games without him.
Definitely. Yeah, the Ravens have not looked great as well over the last couple of weeks, and they're really missing Lamar. And they also had a trade earlier this week. It was a defense, so that's probably why we didn't talk on it. But they moved on from I'm not going to Odafe
Odafe
Owe.
Owe.
Oh, look at me. I
Yep.
got it. And I was so worried about
Yeah.
saying that this week. But, they have the Rams this week. They're on the brink of 1-5, although it is a game at 1:00 with the West Coast team coming east. I believe that's 2 times in 3 weeks for the Rams. I believe it was just 2 weeks ago that they played the Eagles at home on the West Coast as well. So a lot of travel for them. But the way Cooper Rush played last year, the way this defense is just like not the Ravens defense we're accustomed to, I think it's not looking good for them.
Yeah, I'm avoiding as many of my Ravens weapons as I can, and I think you and I are gonna have a bigger conversation about some of those stars on that team a little later. So I'm just gonna tease it, and hopefully you found some good waiver stashes for Lamar last week, and you can still ride that wave coming into this week. Moving on to Kyler Murray, who just left the game for a couple of plays last week. He is now still not practicing with a foot injury. Their backup is Jacoby Brissett. Are we worried about McBride and or Marvin Harrison if they have to go with Brissett?
Maybe a little bit, but not too much that I wouldn't play them in a plus matchup. Or it's not really a plus matchup. They're playing the Colts. The Colts are a very good team.
It's interesting. I don't know what their numbers are against tight ends, but it's interesting that they are one of the highest point givers to receivers, but one of the lowest to quarterbacks.
Yeah. So, and I think the thing that does, help the case of like Marvin Harrison is when they talked about their epic collapse last week. One of the things was like, yeah, I should have found the ways to get Marvin Harrison the ball more. And I think when you hear a coach say that, you always kind of see them, over correct to start a game sometimes. And I think that will lead to a good game from Harrison, whether it is Murray or Brissett. For what it's worth, Pro Football Doc over on Twitter did say they expect him to play, but could limit his accuracy and mobility. So maybe not a quarterback I'd play because you bank on some rushing ability from Kyler Murray.
Yeah, so when it comes to like the receivers or what, like I don't think you're worried too much about McBride or Harrison if Murray goes or not. But are you then not playing Murray?
I might not play Murray. No.
He's been interesting too, just because like he hasn't been bad, but like he's really in his window of like he scores you between 14 and 17 every week, and that's been it. He hasn't had a dud, but he hasn't had a boom either.
Yeah. You want to do some fan questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm tired of talking injuries.
Let's go to I got you. Titan Style on YouTube. We got a roster here. So quarterback Dak, running back Saquon, Etienne, Marks, Ramondre, Gainwell, and then Benson on IR. Receivers Ladd, Chase, Ridley, Dobbs, Jamison Williams. I guess that's Parker Washington and Jalen Coker on IR. Tight end Bowers, no tight end, so only flex. Oh, you're still good there with Bowers. Sent George Pickens, I'm assuming that is, for Chase, and lost Neighbors. I think I'm keeping Chase.
Well, I think he's saying
Chase is on his current roster.
Oh, okay. I see that. Yeah, I think I'm going to keep Jamar Chase too. I mean, Pickens is being really good right now, but CeeDee Lamb will be back. Jamar Chase finally had a breakout game last week, although they are switching quarterbacks, but you have to think Flacco does, favor him to some degree last week. But like looking at your team overall with Dak being a solid quarterback option, there might be some weeks that you want to stream somewhere differently, but you have Saquon and Etienne as like your two main guys with some other guys in there, especially with Benson coming off IR down the line. You have Chase and Ladd, and trust me, I understand that is a very frustrating duo if you got them early because they were off to such a slow start. But I think they both started to have bounce back games in week 5. I like Ridley. I'm going to talk about him in a little bit. You have Coker coming back. So your wide receivers are really good. So I don't think I'm going to panic and move on from Chase. But I do like that your league setting is not have a tight end and it's just a flex. You're getting ahead of the curve. That is coming soon.
I do start seeing leagues start to go that way, but for now we're dealing with tight ends in most leagues. Um, See, I think if you're trying to trade Chase for Pickens, it's an overreaction, like you said, of like I'm not saying that Flacco is going to make them a lot better, but Flacco still is going to benefit Chase in a little bit, like of a little bit of a rebound. Pickens is overinflated because of playing without um CD Lamb. So I think it's an overreaction to pull that one off. I think you hold with Chase, trust the process that Ladd and Chase are going to turn it around and ride the rest of your team for now. Hopefully, even Saquon starts to turn it around too, because I mean, he hasn't been bad, but he hasn't been getting the yardage of last year.
I'd almost rather you like go out and say maybe move like Lad for Chase, and if they won't do that straight up, like
Ladd for Pickens, you mean?
Lad for
Yeah.
Pickens, or even if you have to do like Lad and Ramondre for Pickens or something like that, like just to like get that over the edge. So that's kind of the direction I would go and hold on to Chase.
I like that advice there, Cody. Um, Moving on to one of the people that we are probably going to talk about in a bit. Trade Derrick Henry for Lamar and Swift, 2 quarterback league. So that actually gets more for Lamar there. Other quarterbacks are Allen, Kyler, and Daniel Jones.
Yeah, if you're in a 2 QB league and you could have Allen and Lamar, I would. I don't know why the other person would take the trade, but I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm a big fan of Swift, but Lamar carries a lot of value in a 2 QB league. And Derrick Henry, even if he turns it around, I'm not sure he's going to be the Derrick Henry we're used to.
Yeah, and I also like that he threw in there if he does pull this trade off, he's going to then look to move like Kyler or Daniel Jones. So like if you could then move Kyler for like a Quentin Johnson who's playing really good or a DK Metcalf, I think that would be a solid move.
Oh yeah, I think you're improving your team a ton, being able to majorly step up that QB2 spot and then still help your receivers as well. I like it. I would go for that.
Yep, I'm right there with you.
All right. Question for tonight. We got Montgomery or Devontae Smith at flex.
That one's a tough one but I'm probably going Montgomery. I see the Giants, I think, plus matchup, but I think Montgomery still. I mean, heck, they just broke the record for Gibbs and him scoring touchdowns in the same game. It's Kansas City. They're going to want to run the ball, keep it out of Patrick Mahomes' hands. I would go with Devonta Smith, or excuse me, Montgomery over Devonta Smith in that one.
Yeah, I just think the Eagles receivers are a little too volatile. That was the V word I was looking for. I'm trying to sound smart and can't sound smart here. I want to touch back on Titan Styles' question for a second here. That whole roster, I can pull it back up in a second. He actually sent George Pickens for Chase after losing Neighbors, which that was a great trade that you pulled that one off. Someone was really low on Chase after everything that had gone down. He was thinking about moving Bowers for someone or another, and someone for another running back. I think Bowers is great and all, but if you don't have a tight end position, I don't mind moving Bowers at all. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, especially he is a little bit banged up though right now. Like he might not even play this week. That might be on the list of stuff to talk about coming up, but his value might be at a lower point than it was at the beginning of the season. So that's the only thing you have to keep in mind.
But
And
I
then
still think even like we're probably wired that you probably don't play in every league that doesn't have a tight end position. So you're still probably wired that Bowers has a ton of value, even though he doesn't necessarily have a ton of value when you don't have that specific position.
yeah, I mean, if you could take advantage of someone, do
Mm-hmm.
that, and then yes, turn that down. Like don't even have to look at that. Jordan Mason for Travis Etienne. Honestly, what I would do, and this is like super petty, I would not do anything. I would let the trade sit there so the person thinks, oh, maybe they are interested in that for a couple of days. I'd let the trade expire because that's just an awful trade.
That's somebody trying to take advantage of you, thinking that like Aaron Jones isn't going to come back. But even without Aaron Jones, Mason hasn't been that great. So, two more I see really quick.
Yeah, take them away.
Should I start the Packers or Steelers DST this week?
Oh, buddy. I think those are both great options.
Yeah.
but I will give the slight edge to the Steelers playing at home versus Dylan Gabriel and the Cleveland Browns, just because while we talked about the Joe Flacco trade going to Cincinnati and Joe Flacco already beating Green Bay, but sometimes when you get those changes, it might not be Joe Flacco playing at an elite level. It's sometimes like a coaching change. Like the next week, it seems like the interim coach always wins the following week because like the team just gets up for a change. I'm not saying that the Bengals are going to win that game, but I could see them playing at a different level this coming week. So I'm going to give the edge to Pittsburgh in that one.
I am with you there. I'm giving the edge to Pittsburgh as well. And then finally, should I start or sit Justin Herbert? I think it depends on your other options. So Cody and I can probably go through really quick and name a couple of guys.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Herbert has struggled. Their offensive line is question marks, but they get to play the Miami Dolphins, who have a pretty bad defense this week. So I'm not like forcing them out of my lineup. But like, if your other options are, I don't know, Aaron Rodgers versus the Browns, I'm not doing it. I'm not playing anybody versus, I mean, like, but I'd probably play Jordan Love over him this week. Or
How about, can I name a couple for you here?
Yeah.
Bryce Young against Dallas.
Buddy, that is so tough. You had to pick the toughest one because, like,
You're
I
welcome.
don't know which Bryce Young you're going to get. Are you going to get the first 3 quarters in Arizona or in Miami or the last one? Like,
Yeah.
You're going to get the Bryce Young against the Falcons? I'd probably lean Herbert just because it's a little bit safer, but I think the upside's higher for Bryce Young.
I'd lean Herbert in that one. How about Daniel Jones versus Arizona?
I'm taking the Sheriff, Deputy, Indiana, whatever one you want.
Indiana Jones. I'm taking Indiana Jones as well. I would also go with Love. You mentioned that one. And then I guess the other guy who I've seen kind of flying around is Trevor Lawrence at versus Seattle.
I think I would take Justin Herbert in that one. And then the last one, the same matchup would be Sam Darnold in that one.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would lean Justin Herbert over that one too. I know Sam Darnold has been like a top guy to pick up.
Yeah,
if Matt Stafford's sitting out there
both.
though, pick him up.
Yeah, he was out there in a couple of leagues. It's weird because on NFL.com, he's rostered in 90% of leagues, and there's actually leagues that Cody and I are in where he was not. And I took advantage of that one, I will say.
No, it's just because Cody's been busy week at work, slacking on checking his lineup.
You have Josh Allen. You're playing Josh Allen.
Sorry, I should have read that whole
that
comment.
Just came in.
Yeah, unless you're in that 2 quarterback league too with the other person. I'm sorry, I'm really bad with names, but yeah, you're playing Josh Allen.
One more that came through. Is Chuba Hubbard someone I should target, or is Dowdle going to mess things up over there when he's back?
I do not think Dowdle is going to mess things up too much. He looked really good, although again, he played. Sorry, Siri thought I played something. Started playing a song called Josh Allen. I didn't even know that was the thing. That was by the Kevin Bennett.
Cool. We learned something today on the show.
But no, I think they like Chuba a lot. I'm not going to say Dowdle's never going to steal a red zone touchdown or something like that. That would probably happen. That would have happened if he didn't get hurt.
It happened before he got hurt, I think. Anyway, yeah.
So, but I think Chuba's their guy, and if he's back there, he'll be good to go.
100% agree with that one. Why don't we jump back to injuries really quick? We can try to power through this. Starting with the 49ers, Purdy and Pearsall both still did not participate in practice Thursday. Jawan Jennings was limited. And then we also got news that George Kittle's expected to return to practice at least before week 7. So maybe they're going to start getting a little healthier. And I guess my question here for you is, so I'm a big fan of Jawan Jennings if he ends up being the only one healthy there. And I think if he's healthy there, we're knocking Kendrick Bourne off the radar.
Maybe, like, depending on how deep your league is or how hurt you are or your other positions. I don't think it's like he's not playable. But I do think if Jennings goes, your projected outcome for him is less.
Okay. I think we're on the same page there. Down in Tampa Bay, we still have Bucky Irving not practicing. He's still in doubt for week 6. I know you don't want to talk much about Rachaad White, but I guess he's a go.
Yeah, he's a go this week. I mean, his rushing output was not great last week. He just lucked into 2 touchdowns, especially one after Abuka falls at the 1-yard line, or maybe it was Shepard. I don't remember which wide receiver it was, but he was involved. They put up points. They're probably gonna do the same thing this week. So yeah, you play him.
See if he scavenges a couple of touchdowns again. Exactly. Chuba Hubbard, who we just mentioned in the question previously, still did not participate in practice Thursday. I would expect Dowdle to be the guy this week, but keep an eye on injury reports to see. And then wide receiver news, I'm going to start with Xavier Worthy, who was downgraded to a DNP on Thursday. They say he re-aggravated his ankle injury. That was one of the 2 things he was dealing with, along with the shoulder. We are 1 week away from Rashee Rice coming back. He's still going to be the featured guy if he goes. Are you worried at all about it slowing him down if he is actually still active?
Maybe a little bit. I mean, if he goes, I'd still play him. If he doesn't, though, I would be okay pivoting to Tyreek Thornton. I was surprised last week how much he was still out there, even with Xavier Worthy, and like how he was becoming more of an every down guy. Not like, and they were more like rotating. It was like Tyreek Thornton was on one side, and they were rotating the Juju, the Hollywood Brown other receiver too. So if Worthy doesn't go, I think you could, spot start Thornton, and he might even be a guy who's available. Like if you want to keep Worthy in your lineup until Sunday night, and then have to pick Thornton up off the quote unquote waiver wire or the available free agents.
I like that, having that backup move on free agency. I have a couple more wide receiver notes to hit, and then I'll get to another fan question. So just noting, CD Lamb still expected to miss this week. He has not practiced yet. Terry McLaurin still expected to miss this week. He has not practiced yet. And then Chris Godwin and Darnell Mooney both have not participated in practice yet this week. They're both probably going to be downgraded to out after playing in each of their last 2 games.
Yeah, I think that's it. You want to do this fan question quick?
Yes. So we're going back to Twitch. Caleb Williams or Bo Nix?
All right. So if you're listening at home, Bo Nix gets to play the New York Jets over in London on Sunday morning, or you have Caleb Williams versus the Washington Commanders on the late game. Yes, late game, as in 8:15 p.m. Eastern, but there's 2 Monday night games. So complete opposite end of the spectrums here. Do you want to start your Sunday with him or end your fantasy week with Caleb? And I am going to go with Caleb in this matchup. I think Bo Nix is good. I mean, the Jets, it's not the vaunted Jets defense. Bo Nix has been solid. He's had some slow starts, but bounces back. So it's not that I'm not willing to play Bo Nix. In some situations, I think I am in a league to do it. But over these 2, giving Ben Johnson a week to prepare, we lost to this team on a Hail Mary revenge narrative. Like, I think they're going to throw out a couple of trick plays and a couple deep shots for Caleb.
I'm actually thinking I would go Bo on this one.
Okay. You're allowed to be different.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not the biggest Caleb Williams guy. The Commanders' defense hasn't been great, but I also think they haven't been helped by the fact that like their offense was not quite as good most of the weeks they didn't have Jaden Daniels. When they're on the field less, I think they'll probably be a little better. But like, the Broncos have been hanging in games. The Jets are 0-5. I think the Broncos are going to take that stage early morning in London. They had the whole week there too. I don't know when teams usually go over there, but they played in Philly last week and then went over there Sunday nights. They have a full week to adjust, being across the pond too. I'm going Bo on this one.
Does it change your opinion at all that if you go based on fantasy points per games, because some teams had buys like the Bears and stuff like that, that Caleb Williams is currently QB7 and Bo Nix is QB20?
It doesn't to me. But I'm surprised that Caleb is that high, but doesn't Caleb do that basically based on one game he went off against Dallas?
He had almost 30 points against Dallas, but he also had 17 the week against Detroit and 24 against the week in Chicago. He did have a little bit of a down game versus the Raiders right before the bye, but he was sacked a couple times on that one too. So
maybe you're just hoping Washington blows him out and he has to throw the ball around, and then you do go Caleb. But I'll stick to my guns and go Bo.
alrighty. That means it is time for me to press a button, correct?
Correct. Let's do starts and sits. Good to know it doesn't clear the comment when you hit a bumper. That's noted in my head for that one. All right. Bye weeks this week. We're thankfully off of the 4 teams back to 2 for now. Texans and Vikings. Vikings obviously coming back from 2 straight weeks over in Europe. Texans had the bye. Starts of the week. Cody, why don't you start us off with your running back? We're going to do running back or receiver, and then we can pick a flex that can either be a running back, receiver, or if we really wanted to, tight end.
Yes, and again, this is just, and flex doesn't always mean like that position, but my start of the week at running back is Rico Dowdle with an with an asterisk, and the asterisk is not if Chuba Hubbard plays, because I don't anticipate him to. It's you start him, but realize what happened last week is not happening again. He's not going for 200 plus yards, but I think he is still a very solid option this week. If you picked him up to replace Chuba Hubbard, I think you can keep him in your lineup.
So not Rico Dowdle for 32 points, Rico Dowdle for 15.
Correct.
Cool. I mean, I guess I can kind of say similar in mine, but we obviously hope for the best. My running back is Bill, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, who had the breakout finally last week. But you have to realize he's still in a split. I mean, if he keeps going like he did last week, he's going to earn more pieces of the pie, more carries per game. But it's nice to see that he got the explosives, started to get the explosives, and now they're facing the Bears, who I actually saw a stat gives up the most explosives to running backs so far this season. So hope he breaks another one this week.
All righty. Before we talk wide receivers, you want to do another fan question?
Let's do it.
All righty. Trade JSN and Devon Achane for Josh Jacobs and CeeDee Lamb, full point PPR. Probably wouldn't wait till next week to accept, so he's at least getting CeeDee Lamb back.
Okay.
My instant reaction is no, I'm not doing this.
Keeping JSN and Achane.
I think because it's full point PPR, that favors both. JSN, I think he gets more receptions and targets. I know Lamb gets featured a lot. I think Lamb is probably the best player in here, and I do love me some Josh Jacobs, but he's not a big pass catcher where Achane, when he's struggling on the ground, they just throw him a bunch of balls too. So I think I would lean the JSN and Devon Achane on this one.
I'd also lean JSN and Achane, and it's not the pretty names, which is why Jacobs CD looks so tempting. But like JSN's currently, I believe, wide receiver 4, and got a solid shot to finish as a top 10 wide receiver. Achane, not only does he get underrated every year, like he finishes as a top 10 running back every single season, then we draft him as like a 15th running back off the board. At least it feels like. He, I think, gets a boost from not having Tyreek Hill. Ball has to go somewhere. Jalen Waddle gets the big boost. Darren Waller's gotten a boost, who we've loved to play so far since he's been in there. And then Achane obviously gets a little more work in the passing game. So I'm sticking JSN and Achane as well.
Achane is also second in the NFL for running back targets currently this season.
Who's won?
25. Who's won? Think
CMC.
of all the, yeah, he's at 39.
Oh my God. Well, they haven't had anybody to throw the ball to, but 39 is ridiculous.
No, that's his number of catches. He has 52 targets. I was reading the wrong column.
I feel like I have to go back and do you remember that preseason prediction from Marcus that was that Alvin Kamara would get 100 catches? I mean, if we flip that to CMC, he looks like a genius. And I mean, CMC always gets a lot of catches, but my God, already at 39 through 5 weeks?
Yeah.
And 51 targets?
52 targets. Third in the NFL. Oh, hang on. I didn't include tight ends in that.
I don't think there's any tight ends that high.
I didn't. Yeah. Jake Ferguson is actually leads the NFL with 48 targets for tight ends. Do you want to know? Do you know who the number 2 guy is? I don't think you'll get it, but I want to know if the number 2
tight end.
No, number 2 leader in targets. It can be any position, but it's obviously wide receiver.
My guess would have been Puka, but I guess it's not.
Puka's 1.
Okay.
And McCaffrey's 3. Who is number 2?
Oh, I'm not going to waste too much time. Tell me.
Are you ready for this?
Probably not.
Chris Olave.
No way.
He has 54 targets on the season, but only 33 receptions.
Makes you want to try to buy low on Chris Olave and just hope that Spencer Rattler gets a little better. Because the volume, that's a great volume.
Do you know who it's not, well, this is just receivers now. The Rams have 2 in the top 4. Puka's
Devontae
1
Adams is there too.
4. It's like a 2-man show.
And they still have a lot of touches from Kyron Williams. That's crazy that they can sustain 3 guys that high.
Yeah, and then Tutu Atwell always catches the big catch in the fourth quarter for some random reason.
Amen.
Right. I can go down a stat rabbit hole.
One more fan question here. Back to Twitch. Start Theo Johnson, Hunter Henry, or wait to see if Brock Bowers plays? When's that Raiders game?
It's Sunday at 1
Sunday
o'clock.
At 4.
I know 4.
So you would have to play Hunter Henry still before. I'm not big on the Theo Johnson thing tonight, so I'm gonna say Hunter Henry, and that also buys you more time to see more what's going on with Bowers.
Yeah, Bowers is ruled out Friday or Saturday. You know he's good to go, or you're playing Hunter Henry.
So. And at the worst, Hunter Henry still has a green matchup for tight ends, so you're not gonna hate yourself for being stuck with that. And he's been a top 10 tight end so far. Cool,
sweet.
All right, wide receiver start of the week. Cody, hit it.
All right, well, you kind of stole my thunder a little bit, but when we talked about the Kyler Murray injury, but my start of the week at wide receiver is Maserati Marv. I know he has been frustrating at times for sure. He got that touchdown that everybody said he needed to have his bounce back. I talked about earlier how the coach said he wishes he got him more involved. Can there be an overreaction? And George also mentioned it, that despite the Colts being very good, they're giving up some of the most points in fantasy football to wide receivers right now. So whether it's Jacoby Brissett, whether it's Kyler Murray, I like Maserati Marv this week.
I also do. I think I'm more concerned if it's not Kyler than you are, but I'm not concerned enough to sit him in most cases.
Sweet. Who's your start of the week?
I'm going to go to New England and the guy who had the revenge game last week, Stephon Diggs. Maybe I'm drinking the tea or whatever it is. I guess I can say tea because it's New England. But
sorry,
I made myself laugh. It's really bad. Has a feeling that he's at least back to relevant. Maybe not back to where Stephon Diggs was 2-3 years ago, but back to relevant, flexible starter. And he's the guy that they need up there in New England if they want to take a step as a team.
No, I don't like that, or I don't mind that one at all. I think he is starting to become that security blanket for Drake May. He's having a really good season, underrated performance of how the Patriots are looking. And my flex start of the week, and again, this can be wide receiver, running back, tight end, and flex doesn't necessarily mean that position, is another guy that kind of had a breakout game, not to the same level as Stephon Diggs, but Calvin Ridley, excuse me. He saw double-digit targets for the first time last season. He had 5 catches for 131 yards. They started to get that Cam Ward, Calvin Ridley connection. He had the big catch at the end of the game after the Falcons basically handed them the game. And he gets to go against the Las Vegas Raiders, who have given up some high outputs as well this past season. So if you're in a need for a spot start or a flex play, I think you can play Calvin Ridley. And look, he had 131 receiving yards, and you want to see that kind of stuff when you don't expect a high touchdown output from an offense.
Yeah, I kind of worry that they caught fire in the second half last week and kind of it helped them jumpstart it, but it's not going to carry over. I don't know. I'm not quite as bullish on Ridley as you, but can I throw some guys at you, I guess?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I used to have him on my squad, so I want to see if I can compare it to that. So
Calvin Ridley, Travis Hunter. I'd play Calvin Ridley.
Yep. Keon Coleman,
I'd play Calvin Ridley.
Zay Flowers.
Mm,
No Lamar, obviously.
that one's where it's really tough.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'd still have to play Flowers in that one, but I don't feel good about it.
And then my last guy, I think I know the answer to this one. And my other flex is J.K. Dobbins.
Ooh, giving me a running back for a wide receiver.
Yeah.
J.K. Dobbins, the running back going up against the Jets over in London. Yeah, let's go Calvin Ridley.
Wow. Okay, I was not expecting that. I'm going Dobbins because of volume on that one.
Yeah, that's probably where I should have gone.
Yeah,
For
it's
some
like
reason,
the fact that like you feel like Dobbins hasn't been as good, and then you look and he gets 20 carries a week is crazy.
yeah, that is exactly where I'm at with J.K. Dobbins. If I'm being 100%, I see his name and I still think, oh, it's a split backfield with R.J. Harvey. It's been tough running for him. So
It's been
hindsight,
tough running for Harvey for sure.
yeah. So
Um, I'll do my final start here, and then we'll get to another fan question. My flex start of the week, I want to give some love to the rookie Tet McMillan, and I know it's been rough going for him. It's been fairly consistent, but he hasn't gotten in the end zone yet. He's only broken 10 half PPR points 2 times in the first 3 weeks, but there's no denying the target share is there, the yardage is there. He's going against Dallas, which is a good matchup. I hope he finally gets in the end zone, kind of breaks that, run of once you get the first one, a lot of times touchdowns come in bunches. So stick with him in your lineup.
does that change at all if they activate Jalen Coker?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think he's been good enough. It just hasn't, like I said, hasn't turned into fantasy points where people are like buzzing over him just because he hasn't scored the touchdown.
Gotcha.
All
Are we
right.
doing
Fan
fits now?
question.
Oh, fan question. That's even better.
Yes. Cool. Guys, do I start Pickens or Rome Odunze? Just so you know, I also have Jake Ferguson and Javonte Williams starting.
Great. So this is a great question of like, you don't want to double up on, or just go all in on the Cowboys.
Yeah.
But with that said, I think you got to go Rome Odunze.
Rome Odunze has been too good, and I think the bye week kind of brings you out of it for a second. You go back in, you're like, no, Rome Odunze was a top 5 receiver before he went on bye. We're sticking with it for now.
Yeah, his least amount of targets came in week 3 with 7. He's had at least 15.2 PPR points all 4 games or more. So yeah, Rome Odunze is becoming the number 1 target point scorer fantasy option in Chicago. So go with him.
Cool. Going back to Niori on Twitch, full PPR. Excuse me. Who do I start? Wandale or JMO? I'm going Wandale with full PPR, especially. Like JMO's not a PPR guy. You're really hoping that he just happens to bust out a long play. Wandale, as much as I don't love him, he's the guy that's going to get the volume.
So you might have convinced me to go with him with Wandale in this situation. However, I just can't quit JMO. So like I still want to say him. But I think you should listen to George.
He thinks you should listen to me and go Wandale, but at least he gave you his counterpoint, kind of. Not really. He gave you his gut reaction.
My gut reaction says I'd play. When I first read this question, it was like, I'm going JMO. And then George talked, and I was like, that makes a lot more sense. You should probably do that. But I would still lean JMO.
All right, we're gonna go to YouTube and Juan, who for my wide receiver 1, 2, 3, tight end and flex. So I'll kind of run through the roster really quick. We need 3 receivers, a tight end, and a flex. Backs I could go in that flex are Bill, Kenny Gainwell, Zach Charbonnet, or Travion Henderson. Receivers: Flournoy, Debo, Quentin Johnston, Devontae Adams. Free agents: Njoku, Tongs, Hollywood, Shepard, Thornton, Tutu. And then tight ends: Mason Taylor and Kyle Pitts.
Okay. So if I got this all correct, we're doing the 3 wide receivers and a flex spot.
You're going to tight end.
And a tight end. So let's
So wide receiver 1 to me is Adams.
Yeah, I'm doing Adams, Debo, Quentin Johnston. Those are
Yep.
the three.
Exactly.
And then
My tight end,
my flex spot's
Taylor.
Bill Krosky.
Yeah. Okay. I'll agree with the flexes. Bill Krosky Merritt.
And then I'm only like it's either the free agent pickup of Njoku or Jake Tongs.
No, or you can do Mason Taylor and Kyle Pitts on his roster. And I think I'm going Mason Taylor.
Oh. Sorry. I was looking at he said a second chat in there up there. But Mason Taylor he said he had him on IR, so I was thinking maybe I missed that he went to IR. But we'll come back to your second question. I think I'm going Kyle Pitts at the tight end spot.
Taylor and Pitts is a very tough draw for me. The only reason I'm going Taylor is because of how much volume he got last week, going over 10 targets, and he's gotten more targets every week. The big problem is I don't like the Jets offense, and I like the Falcons offense better, so I get why you're going Pitts.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. I hope, but to answer your second question, should you drop Kyler Murray for Sam Darnold, or do you keep him on the bench, drop Kyle Pitts or Flournoy for Darnold in case Murray doesn't start? That's what I would do. I would drop. Why can't I pronounce this dude's name?
Flournoy. I believe that's how you say it. Honestly, I'm not well versed in that one. I would keep Kyler, play him if he goes, only drop Flournoy for Darnold if he doesn't go. Yeah.
Cool. That's what I would do there.
One more. Pick 2, Kendrick Bourne, Devontae Smith, Godwin, Romeo Dobbs.
Pick 2.
Pick 2. Godwin, I'm going to assume is not playing. Knock him off. So I feel like you have to go Devontae Smith tonight.
Yeah, and then I guess you're going. So this one is an asterisk because I think you got to wait till see what happens with the receivers. If DeJuan Wennings plays, I'm going Romeo Dobbs. If he doesn't, I'm going Kendrick Bourne. Is that fair?
I think that's fair. That's what I was going to say too. So Devontae Smith tonight, play Bourne if there's no Juwan Jennings, and Ricky Pearsall. I doubt Pearsall's going to go though. And then otherwise play Dobbs. Do you want us to keep going?
Yeah, let's do it. This is better than what you were going to say anyways.
Cool. John, Brian Thomas Jr. or Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt rest of season?
Oh, buddy.
Question. That's a great question. Ooh.
Let me I'm going to need to do a quick stat check here because I feel like it has not been what we anticipated for one Mr. Brian Thomas Jr.
It has not for sure.
But I want to say he is getting the numbers have gotten better throughout the course. So the last 2 weeks he's had double-digit PPR points, 7 targets, 6 targets. Oh man, I think I'm still going to give the edge to Brian Thomas, but if you clip this and send it back to me at the end of the season and be like, "Oh, dude, you're an idiot. You should have took Bill," I'd be like, "Well played."
It's so hard for me to not say Brian Thomas because of how good last year and the fact that he should be a wide receiver 1. And it's crazy to me that you're going to tell me that Brian Thomas has had the start he has and he hasn't, like, and the Jags are good. Like, I thought the Jags would have been 0-5 if you had told me this is how this was going. I think I'm giving slight edge Bill, but my defense of Brian Thomas is we just talked about how Tet McMillan can't get in the end zone, but he's been solid. There is almost an exact stat match between him and Brian Thomas. If Brian Thomas starts getting in the end zone, we're looking at a completely different story for him. But I think Bill's on the rise, which is why I'm still going to go with him rest of the season.
All right. And the next fan question on the list is sit 1, PPR, ETN, Scadaboo, or Bill?
A lot of Bill questions today. I think the Bill breakout has kind of opened their eyes a lot more.
Awesome. And then just so he knows, he felt good about playing or sitting Scadaboo until Jalen Carter. We have not got to the preview yet, but Jalen Carter is officially inactive. This time for injury, not for spitting on people, but he won't be playing. So I get the thought process of, all right, should I put Scadaboo back in my lineup here? But you mentioned Tyron Tracy being back as well. So really this comes down to, do you believe in Bill or do you believe in Cam? ETN is a start for sure. That's where I'm at in this one. And I think you should still stick with the sit Cam Scadaboo.
I still think you should sit with the sit Cam Scadaboo as well. And I'm not saying Bill gets a lot of passing volume, but you also have to look at Bill gets more passing volume than Scadaboo does. So there's even more of a chance of upside. Yeah, I think the big thing is, now we even saw the other thing of people trying to convince themselves of Scadaboo because no Jalen Carter, which is a big hit to the Eagles defense, but still forgetting Tyrone Tracy back.
And they still have a solid defensive line.
Yeah.
I mean, Carter is very good. Don't get me wrong. Like, he is their best defensive line player, but they have some solid options as well. But thank you for the comment. I don't know where we were in our actual rundown, though, so you're going to have to help me out there, buddy.
Good. We're going to sits.
Cool. Let me just
rapid fire him here, I guess.
So I originally had Cam Scadaboo as my sit for the week, but that wasn't spicy enough because I like to do spicy sit takes. That's what I do here.
You ripped apart on social media, which is what you love.
I don't do it for the clicks. I do it for what my gut tells me. And this one maybe isn't as spicy as it, but the name is big. And that is one Mr. Chase Brown for the Cincinnati Bengals. They have one of the worst offensive lines. They are averaging like 1.5 yards a carry or something crazy like that. I don't have the exact stats in front of me. It hasn't been good. And I know the last thing that people remember about the Packers is the 40-40 tie they have against Dallas, but this is a very good defense. They're going to come back to earth here. I'm not trusting Chase Brown in my lineup this week.
Can I go out of order? Do you care?
No.
I'm going to piggyback off of you and say decent Packers defense who, obviously didn't have the game against Dallas. First game, we think they're going to explode with Joe Flacco. Don't believe it too much. Chase, I think, gets a boost. I'm sitting T. Higgins, though.
Ooh, that might be spicier. To my spicy sit.
Sitting T. Higgins. We're going to see. We'll just put Chase Brown and T. Higgins on there and watch how many people rip us. But we're going to going with the gut. Give me a really big Jamar Chase day, but that's it.
Yeah. Now, look, I said this. Chase Brown hasn't scored since week 1, so he'll get in the end zone to save his fantasy day. And some will be on the Facebook comments to George's TikTok or post. These guys said you should not play Chase Brown, and he got in the end zone, had a 15-point day with 30 rushing yards, and destroy my soul.
Keep destroying Cody's soul. But I'll throw my running back in here then. I'm going to go to Pittsburgh, and I'm going to say sit Jalen Warren. Warren had a very decent start to the season, sure, but I am not feeling it this week with them facing the Browns. The Browns defense is very good. They're not going to obviously do a whole lot on offense, especially, but I would not be shocked if this is a 13-10 game and Jalen Warren isn't the guy to get the touchdown.
Yeah, I don't mind that one at all. I'm going to go out of order now just because we've kind of in the nope, I'm not. I'm going to go to my wide receiver.
Okay.
I'm going to go to one Mr. Garrett Wilson. And again, maybe that's a little spicy for you guys out there listening as well. It might be too good to be too good to pass up playing him, but he's playing against the Denver Broncos defense. We've seen their secondary lockdown guys all season long, and I am not playing a receiver going up against Pat Surtain, Jahdae Barron, and the other guy that I always forget his name, who is probably their second best defensive player or at least in their secondary. But yeah, I'm not trusting Justin Fields to, he'll probably be 0-27 against teams that score 21 or more points. So
So I have to test you because I have both, and I technically already have both in my lineup. You would play Marvin Harrison over Garrett Wilson this week.
Yes.
See, I think that's a little bit wild, but like I said, I have both in my lineup, so I have
Why
to
is-
at least test you a little deeper.
Why is it wild?
Young Coleman, Zay Flowers.
No, I wouldn't play any of those guys.
Okay. So he is still borderline on your flex spot, but
Bro, I almost said I would play Calvin Ridley over Zay Flowers. You gave me like terrible names.
okay.
But look, I'm just saying, I mean, even look at last week against the vaunted Dallas Cowboys season. Now, yes, he saved his day with the touchdown at the end of the game. But until the fourth quarter, he had like less than 5 points. And maybe you're thinking, oh, they'll just do that again. I don't think I think the Denver Broncos are going to win. I don't think they're going to blow them out and just start letting them pass all over it like the Dallas Cowboys did. Completely different defense. If the Jets score 10 points, that'll be a good week for them. So I guess your only hope is Garrett Wilson catches the touchdown.
And if not, it's probably Brees Hall. So
Maybe. Probably
right.
will be Khalil Herbert.
I see a couple more fan questions coming in. Why don't we finish up sits really quick just to get through it? So my flex sits, I am looking at the Chargers running backs. I just don't trust that either of them are going to get enough volume. You're going to have to guess who scores the touchdown if one of them scores the touchdown. So I'm sitting Vidal and I'm sitting Hassan Haskins.
Mine's the same mindset, just a different team with the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, DeMarc Carter had a great week if he would have held the ball on for one more step, and that didn't work out. Michael Carter, who's going to get the touchdown? It's still a good Colts team that doesn't punt. I expect them to be down and have to start going away from the run game, so I'd avoid them.
All right, and then let's go back to YouTube. Dylan asked, what do you guys think this week, Eagles or Packers defense? Ooh, pit us up against each other a little bit.
I would go. Oh, buddy. I think I would go.
Jalen Carter complicates things for the Eagles defense a little bit. At least when it comes to fantasy, you hope he, helps disruption, get a sack or two. Maybe he doesn't directly, but he definitely helps with it.
Yeah, so this is the thing. I think the Eagles special teams is better. Like, I think there's a better chance that they score, but that's not how you should pick your defense because those are so few and far between. I do think the Packers defense is better as a whole right now. The Bengals are a mess, but I've talked about the boost they might get. But I think I'm still going to go with the Packers defense, but it's a very close one.
I'm going to agree with you and go with the Packers defense. Jason threw us a couple of questions here, so I'll try to rapid fire through them with you. Start one, Wandale or Shakur, and if Kamara is out, do I start both wide receivers or start Vidal or Miller? I actually honestly didn't even realize that Kamara has been limited, but I would assume he would go. I would probably play both receivers.
Yep, that's where I'm at.
Cool. Start two, Pittman, Jalen Waddle, Rico Dowdle, Jalen Warren.
Pittman and Waddle.
Pittman and Waddle.
If
Rico was on the radar because he did well last week, but I'm kind of with you where like you're not expecting 30 again. Pittman and Waddle for sure.
Yeah, and look, Kamara has been limited both days. I expect him to go too.
Yeah, they call his status in doubt, but it's very rare that you see somebody go limited 2 days and then be out. Normally, if that's the case, it's like they're coming back from a long-term injury.
Unless they're getting traded. Then he's not going to play.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen yet. Start one, Zach Ertz, who threw up a goose egg last week. Jake Tongs, A.J. Barner.
Oh, buddy.
Pretty much talking about tight ends.
This one, you go put all three of their face on a dartboard. You throw a dart, whichever one is closest. You basically pick. But I'm a YOLO Jake Tongs.
I'm YOLO and Jake Tongs too. I'm glad you said that. I would have thought I was dumb. No, I mean, even better if Jennings is out, but if Jennings is still in, like Dongs has been getting some touchdowns because they need somebody to catch them.
I'm just trying to. Yeah, I mean, Burner is tight end 8 on the season in PPR, and Tongs is 9. So they're very.
Barner's got other tight ends to deal with. I guess technically Tongs does too. Like they've had, I forget his name every single week. The other guy there in San Fran that's been getting catches, but I'm sticking Tongs.
Jake Tongs has as many targets as Brock Bowers and Sam Laporta on the season.
Wait till Kittle gets back. It's not going to matter. But yes.
Correct. I understand. This is why I don't need to look at stats during the game. I shouldn't be looking while we're talking, but sometimes I need that to help. But then I just go down like a rabbit hole of like all these comparisons and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a crazy one right there, honestly. One more. Start one. Swift, White, Rico, Carter, Myers. Terry's going to be out, so I'm knocking him out. Team is deep. Yeah, team's pretty deep.
Start one. Swift. I'm assuming that's Rashad White.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to give the slight edge to. I was going to say DeAndre, but that Rico Dowdle matchup is what's throwing me back with no Chuba Hubbard.
I'm saying Rico. If Hubbard doesn't go, I'm going to actually say White if Dowdle happens to random. I mean, if Hubbard happens to randomly.
Okay.
Cool.
There you go.
All right. Going back here. Do you want to hit some streams really quick? All right. We'll rapid fire. I'm going to start with quarterbacks. I got Jordan Love on my list as a stream of the week because the Bengals defense stinks. And just so you don't have to say it, and you stole my thunder earlier, I had an honorable mention of Matt Stafford, who is 2 owned, but he's about to cook this week.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like yours better than mine as well. And I really wanted to go Bryce Young versus Dallas on this one, but I couldn't fully buy in. I didn't have the conviction, so I went Caleb Williams. I kind of talked about that earlier as well.
At tight end, somebody you and I didn't talk about a lot before this, but I mean, the man's had over 10 targets each of the last 2 weeks. Mason Taylor for the Jets. I don't love the offense, but if he's going to be a focal point and he's at tight end, you have to at least own him. You can definitely start him.
For sure. And Matt Stafford's still available in a quarter of sleeper leagues, just so you know.
Quarter of sleeper leagues, about 10% of NFL.com leagues. There's some opportunity out there.
You play on Yahoo, pick a different platform. Not a sponsor. But you picked a guy that you're riding the wave after 2 weeks. I'm going to, be like his mascot, continue to ride the wave. Darren Waller in Miami. Give me them red zone targets. Give me those options that they're looking for. And Darren, this might be the last week I can say his name without saying he's an every week starter. So had to get in there one last time.
Very true. I mean, it seems like he has become the go-to option inside the 5 is jump ball Darren Waller. And I can't say I blame him because it works almost every time. Defense, I've got the target New Orleans again strategy, and I'm going Patriots.
Yeah, I like that one. The Patriots could be on this list the next 3 weeks. So true, I like that one.
It doesn't hurt. If you add them now, you can ride that wave too.
And then I have Pittsburgh versus Cleveland.
Against Cleveland, one of those teams you like to add. Pittsburgh still has a solid defense. A little bit over here. Let's go right into games of the week.
Yep. This is where Cody's out of bumpers, so we don't have to click anymore.
You and I had plenty of complaints about this slate. I mean, we have the London game, which makes it like, it gives you less games to play with. We have the 2 teams on bye, knocks the game off as well. But then there's a Monday night doubleheader, which we love Monday night doubleheaders here. They're fantastic. And then 3 games in the 4 o'clock window because of all that.
Yeah, I don't mind it this much because my team plays in the 4 o'clock window, so it's less games I have to pay attention to for the show on Monday. But yeah, Sunday's great. I think Packers Bengals would have been a lot more fun if Joe Burrow was playing.
Mhm.
That could have been a real fun showdown. I think that's part of the reason why there's only 3 games. The NFL was hoping for that. But we do get Lions Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. The Chiefs are coming off that tough loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Lions are 4-1. The Lions had that game a couple seasons. Their breakout game when they upset the Chiefs on Banner Night. I believe that's 3 seasons ago now, which is kind of crazy. But still, this should be a good matchup. And the Chiefs probably really want to get to 500, back to 500. Not 2-4 feels a lot different than 3-3. I know it's only a game difference, but as teams in their division continue to win, it's not likely, but there is a chance with the win here they could be back tied for first place. They wouldn't have the tiebreaker, but just something to keep in mind on. So I really like the Chiefs Lions matchup, red versus blue, a classic of all classics.
Chiefs need this one because of how far behind the 8 ball they got, but then tough draw against the Lions. We get to see, this is almost a measuring stick game for the Chiefs to see if they have taken a step back, if it was just a rough start and they figured it out. But again, it's still interesting how, like, next week they get back Rashee Rice. We don't know about Xavier Worthy this week, so they're still shorthanded too. Great matchup. Mine is the other game that is in the 4 o'clock window at 4:25, and I got 49ers at Bucks. And again, I think this is an even better game if the 49ers are at full strength, but they've still been playing very well even when they've had the backup quarterback and they've been missing the receivers. Bucks love to win games in the final minute of the game. They've done it every single week except for the one game that they lost because they set themselves up for that game-winning field goal and got it blocked.
Yeah, this one should be fun. I mean, the 49ers continue to fight no matter what, who they got out there. Sitting at 4-1. Buccaneers, I mean, 2 of the top teams so far going off. And could have playoff implications. I know it's still early. You still expect some teams to be up there, but gotta win the big ones when it counts. So those are 2 games to watch. You want to do another fan question?
Let's do it.
All righty. So full point PPR league: Keenan Allen, Cortland Sutton, Xavier Worthy, and Jalen Waddle. He can only start 3. Which one do you sit this week? This is where it's tough though, because that Worthy thing is like the big question mark.
And it stinks because that's the late game. So Worthy is the boom. So it's hard to say sit him, but because of not having the option of you have to wait on him, I think I'm leaning sitting him, playing Keenan, Sutton, and Waddle.
Yeah. So for me, Keenan, excuse me. Let me start over before I just stumble through all my words.
Mm-hmm.
Keenan and Waddle are my 2 locks. They're definitely both in my lineup this week. There is a little bit of the concern, being the London game, Sauce Gardner, can he take Cortland Sutton away? So I have that concern, but the getting demoted to a DNP is going to be a tough one. Now, if this was something similar to what we saw with, Tucker Kraft a couple weeks ago, injured, this is a re-aggravation, but injured in practice, don't know the longevity. 2 days later, he's good to go. It was a scare, good to play. If we hear that by Saturday night, I'd probably pivot, put Worthy back in my lineup. However, I don't think we're going to get that information. And because you have to wait all the way to Sunday, I'm going to go ahead and sit Xavier Worthy this week and start the other 3.
PPR helps a little bit too. Like, I mean, I don't want to say that hurts Worthy because he's kind of been their only reliable target since they don't have a lot of guys around him right now that have been consistent. But Keenan's better in PPR. Sutton's probably better in PPR. Waddle, now that they don't have Tyreek Hill, should get a couple extra catches. So I think that kind of helps you a little bit too.
Yeah, and Sutton's had really good PPR points outside of that week 2 dud. If you take that game, he's had at least 17.9 or more. So go with him.
Cool. Do you still want to talk a couple seconds here on Thursday Night Football coming up?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Eagles favored by 7 in this game tonight against the Giants, over under at 40.5. I know we were originally worried about Saquon Barkley back on Monday, but it sounds like he's fully cleared, good to go, was not on the final injury report. But the Eagles are down a big defensive lineman in Jalen Carter.
Awesome. And I'm going to throw this fan question up here as well, because it's kind of similar. Before the game, he was wondering thoughts on Scatterboo or Ladd this week. And Scatterboo is getting a lot of buzz. The no Jalen Carter thing makes it interesting. We've talked about that a little bit too. But the Ladd McConkey, he started to have a good week last week. He's bouncing back. I would go him over Cam Scatterboo.
I would go him over Cam Scatterboo as well. And like I've said earlier in the show as well, Tyrone Tracy back takes a couple carries away from Scatterboo. Scatterboo seemed like when he was going and was getting you fantasy points, he's going to be a volume guy. He's not going to really blow up for you if he's back in that split with Tracy getting 10 to 15 carries a game, unless he happens to get the touchdowns, which is possible. But we're talking about a not great offense. As opposed to when he was getting 25 carries a game, he can somehow pull 80 to 100 yards out of 25 carries a game. That's fine. And you're not as touchdown reliant at that point.
Sweet. But yeah, Jalen Carter's the big inactive in this one. The Giants are without Darius Slayton, and obviously without Malik Neighbors. So Wandale is an interesting name here, but the Eagles have some good corners as well. So not a ton of like obviously your big names, all the questionable guys on the Eagles that make you want to pull your hair out to start the season, but you have to keep them in your lineup because of who they are. And then a lot of question marks for the Giants as well. So should be a fun battle of I-76.
Yes, it should. And we'll see how that goes. And I think I have a Phillies game to get to. So
yeah, George is like chomping at the bit. He was like, let's have a short one. Goes 15 minutes over. But we appreciate
answering the questions.
Yeah. We wouldn't we got one. Nope. I don't know why it does that. Every time I click off, it like pops one back up. Looks like I got a second one in there, but we do not. And that means the chat is closed because we are wrapping up another episode of Out Podcast. Join us live on Mondays and Thursdays, 6:30 p.m. Eastern throughout the NFL season to get your fantasy lineups, talk about the games, talk about what's coming up. We'd love for you to join us, or you can listen to it in your podcast feed the next day. Also, if you don't have time to listen to a podcast, we get that. Life's busy. Hit us up on social media, Couch GMs everywhere. We'd love to answer your questions there. I'm Cody Roadcap. That's George Kurth. And we'll talk to you all next week.